So a few days ago, my kitchen sink broke. I know, it was a nightmare. But when it broke, I did a few things that got me thinking about how similar my kitchen sink is to our children's behavior. Here's what happened. My kitchen sink breaks. I can't use it. It's not working. But it used to work. I was reinforced for it in the past. Every day I would go to my kitchen sink, I would turn it on, the water came out, and I got what I wanted. And this happened every day. Every day I go to my kitchen sink, every day I use it, get what I need, and I'm reinforced for that behavior. But then my kitchen sink breaks. And what happens? Even though it's broken, every day I still go over to the kitchen sink and I turn it on because I'm expecting it to work. Sometimes I remember that it's not working, but typically I go back to the sink and I turn it on and I'm like, oh my gosh, the kitchen sink's not working. I can't do this. It was probably broken for around 3 days. And the first 1 to 2 days, I would say that my behavior of going over to the kitchen sink and turning it on happened pretty frequently. However, by the 3rd day, my behavior of going to the kitchen sink significantly decreased. I think I probably went over to turn it on about once, and then that was it. I stopped going to the kitchen sink because I realized it finally sunk in. Oh, my kitchen sink's not working. I cannot use my kitchen sink. Now, what does this have to do with your child's behavior? When our kids are engaging in problem behavior for something, let's say you tell your child to turn off the TV, they whine and cry, and you let them keep the TV on. And this is a typical pattern that happens. Every day you tell your child it's time to turn the TV off, they cry and whine, and you give them some more time, or you negotiate with them and you say, okay, 5 more minutes. So their behavior of crying and whining was reinforced because it got them more time on the TV. Now let's say one day you're like, this is enough. I really want my kid to just turn the TV off when I ask him to. The next time he cries and whines, I'm not going to let him keep watching TV. Here's what's not going to happen and what we should not expect. You tell your child it's time to turn the TV off. They cry and whine, but you tell them you still need to turn the TV off and then it's over with. That's not going to happen because your child has a long learning history of when I cry and whine, my mom lets me keep the TV on. That behavior has been reinforced for a long time. So what's going to happen? What will likely happen is that your child is going to continue crying and whining for a little bit because that's a behavior that was reinforced. And they're thinking to themselves, this used to work for me and it's not working. So the next day when you say to them, it's time to turn the TV off, they cry and whine, you still make them shut it off. Their behavior of crying and whining isn't working. Next day, same thing happens. You say, time to turn the TV off. They cry and whine because that's the behavior that always got them the TV, but it's not working. So you still make them turn the TV off. And then what likely is going to happen is that over time, your child's going to learn crying and whining isn't working anymore. It's not producing the TV. It's not making my mom say, okay, you can keep watching it. And so what we're going to see happen is that crying and whining is going to decrease. It's going to take time, but over time, your child's going to learn crying and whining isn't working anymore, and I'm not going to try this because it's not producing anything. But what we can expect to happen is that the day we decide to implement a new procedure or that we're no longer reinforcing our children's problem behavior, that it's just going to stop and it's going to get better. Oh, I'm trying this new procedure. It's going to get better. Behavior change can take time. It's not always a quick fix. But when you stay with something and you're consistent in your efforts, it does end up paying out. It might be a slow process, but over time, it will create long-lasting behavior change. Our kids might have many years of a strong learning history of getting reinforced for that problem behavior. So when we decide one day we don't want to reinforce it anymore, we can't expect that in 2 days it's going to get better. So the next time you're implementing something new or you're trying a new strategy, just remember that behavior change does take time. But I promise you it's worth it. With that being said, there are a number of proactive strategies that we can utilize to decrease the chances of problem behavior even happening. And in my Practical Parenting No Fluff Just Results course, I walk you through this in a step-by-step process, what you can do before problem behavior even happens. And if it does, what can we do? So comment ready and I will send you information on that.